All right, so we are going to convert from a fraction into a decimal. Um, and this one, there are two main strategies that you can employ. So this video is going to specifically be about times when you can convert the denominator of your fraction into a power of 10. So if we take this first example here of 16/20ths, we want to ask ourselves, well, can we make this fraction have a 10 or a 100 or a 1000 or so on as our denominator? And in this case, you can go one of two ways. I'm going to go the way where we make it into a 10 because I know that 20 has 10 as a factor. So I can pull that out. So I'm going to make this denominator now a 10. But I need to ask myself, well, what did I do to turn this 20 into a 10? And what we essentially did, right, if we think about our diva here, is we divided by 2. So we took our 20, we divided it by 2, which turned it into a 10. So that is totally legal to do so long as whatever we do to the bottom, we have to do that same thing to the top. So since we divided by 2 here, we're going to divide top, the numerator, also by 2. So we're going to take our 16, divide it by 2, which is going to turn this into 8 tenths. So 8 tenths is an equivalent fraction worth the same value, just a different look, as 16/20ths. So now this fraction has a 10, a power of 10, literally 10, in the denominator. So what we can do is we can use that to our advantage by saying, ooh, let's say that out loud. Oh, well, 8 tenths. So I'm going to take 8 tenths and I'm going to write it as a decimal. Knowing what I know about fancy talk, I know that 8 tenths written as a decimal will have an 8 in the tenths place value spot. So 16/20ths converted into 8 tenths means that we literally can say the decimal value out loud. So this becomes 8 tenths. All right. We can do that same thing here on this next example as well. So we're going to take 34/50ths. You'll remember, right, that fractions can be written with a slash kind of going sideways, or they can be written with a fraction or a line like this. They mean the same thing, but it's easier to type this slash on a keyboard. So that's why you'll see that over here. So 34/50ths. So we want to ask ourselves, well, can 50, our denominator here, can it be turned into a power of 10? We can say, well, yeah, I can do that a couple of different ways. Is it easier to get it to turn to a 10 or turn into 100? And for me right now, I'm going to go bigger. I'm going to turn this into 100. We know 100 is a power of 10. So then we say, sweet, this is now 100. But what did we do to get it there? Well, if we take a diva, right, which is that line drawn around there, is representative that you are really just multiplying by 1, right? So up here, 2/2 is the value of 1. And here we're going to be using 2/2 again. But this time we're going to multiply. So 50 times 2 gets us 100, and that is totally legal to do so long as whatever we do to the bottom, you got to do that to the top. So when we take 34 and we multiply it by 2, we get 68 hundredths. And then, magically, as we say that out loud, you can hear it turning into a fraction, right? So it turned into 68 with the last digit of value in the hundredths spot. So 68 hundredths is the same thing as 68 hundredths written in either of these forms, but since we want it written in decimal form, we're going to write it like that.